Welcome to the Master Secrets. I'm Kathryn Lloyd, and today we have just got this incredible interview with Andrew Tischler. I am so excited. He is, man, he is just burning up YouTube in a really big way. And if you want really great instruction, this is the guy to see. So Andrew, thank you for being here.
Oh, Kathryn, thank you so much. Really, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Oh, well, I love your videos. The first time that I saw your videos was probably about 2018. And I just started watching them and just, oh my goodness gracious, you're absolutely amazing. And your videography is really good. Now, how do you do all of that?
Oh, wow. How long do we have? it's yeah, it's such a process. And the interesting thing is that, you know, a lot of people are looking at the videos like yourself, and they're kind of scratching their heads going, you know, how does he do this? And what kind of experience has he got? I started from zero, like I started from square one. And I have mentioned this previously in interviews, but I'll repeat it. Basically, you know, I started off like a lot of people do learning anything. I jumped onto YouTube before I'd even had my own YouTube channel. And I literally searched on YouTube how to make a YouTube video. And don't laugh, but I pulled up this video by somebody who was doing lookbooks and makeup tutorials. I know, shocker, right? Now, I wasn't interested in that sort of thing. She just made a video, and it was #1. So I clicked on it, and it was just how I make YouTube videos, and that's what this person was doing. And you know, she recommended I use this camera, and I like this camera because it's a good quality, but it's at the same time, it's kind of entry level. It's not the best of the best. It's middle of the range, but it gives you 1080p HD video footage. And that's the one thing I knew I needed. I couldn't just make a crappy video. I wanted it to be good right off the bat. So I started off with one camera, and I just went straight out and I bought the camera that she recommended. And it was a Canon 700D. And the reason that she liked this camera, and I found that the reason I like the camera, is because it's got this screen on it that flips out, and you can see you while you're teaching, or you know, if I would point the camera at the easel filming my painting, I could see the screen at whatever angle. I could just flip that thing out and just look immediately at the camera and see what I was filming. And that made it so easy. And I just started there. So that's just an example of one of like the technical things that I had to have incorporated. But then it became, you know, I was watching the video that I was making, and I was going, well, the audio sounds really crappy because it's coming through the camera. What's a way that I could get better quality audio? Jump straight back on YouTube. How to get professional quality audio, and it's amazing, you know. I think the university model, the tertiary institution model, it's over. They just don't know it yet. You can get like the equivalent of a college degree for free just by jumping on YouTube or other online platforms. It's out there for free. It's amazing. So I basically learned all the stuff that I know, and I'm not a full bottle by any means. I'm just a dude who loves to paint, and I couldn't get good help. Well, I couldn't afford good help. Let's put it that way, because video makers are incredibly expensive. So I had to build this myself, just one piece at a time. And then the one thing, though, that was the biggest, you know, bottleneck in my production was the editing. I didn't know much about editing. So I learned very early on that that was the one thing that I'd have to outsource that would save me the time to keep me painting, is have somebody else edit this together via the treatment that I'd provide for them. Say, okay, I need 30 minutes spent on this. I need 2.5 hours spent on this. And here's the audio track. And here's the music I want to use. Put it together. And then there'd be a bit of back and forth. And in a nutshell, that's kind of how it's done. Now, I got an editor working for me full time now. He's been working for me for about 1.5 years. Shout out to Liam, awesome dude, and he does all my editing, and it's great. So it's working now.
Oh, that's fantastic. So you do have a team. You have a team behind you supporting you.
Yeah. 3 people.
Three people.
There are 3 people in our team, Team Tish. It's ridiculous, I know. But there are three people. It's myself, it's my beautiful wife, Rachel, and it's Liam. And that's it. That's our company.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And you live out in the middle of
Nowhere.
nowhere, right?
Yeah. I live in a place called the Marlborough Sounds in New Zealand, in the South Island of New Zealand. So a few people, abroad listening to this that don't know much about, this little island way down under. It's two islands, the North Island and the South Island. So I'm pretty much smack bang in the middle of the country at the top of the South Island. It's a beautiful, picturesque area. If I had to describe it to people, it's like beautiful forested mountains that come straight down to the ocean. And because we're in a sound, you're not looking out at open ocean. It's like this weird little network of tidal channels, fjords in a way. It's really something else. So we found a little area that we could have some property, some land. It was really important to my wife and I to have a place where we could become self-sufficient because, on a personal level, I feel that that's something that's not only really interesting to me, but I think it's going to be necessary, in the coming months and years to be self-sufficient.
Andrew, how did you get started? I know that you say that you've been painting forever. How
Mhm.
did that, what did that look like for you?
Um, yeah, it's really interesting. An artist's journey, it was something that I thought was just pretty much like a one track business model. There was like a real a prescribed method or a direction that any artist would go in. And in a way, it kind of fits that traditional model that we all assume that the way the life's going to work out when we're kids. You go to school, you do as well as you can. You either go into a trade school or a university, you get your qualification, then you get your job, and then you work your way up through whatever job. And then eventually maybe you can run the company that you're working for. And then you can enjoy maybe 2 or 3 years of retirement, and then you can go ahead and die now. That seems to be a way that human beings think about doing life. And that was something that I was looking at as an artist, where there was this like track that I was going to, follow. It's like, okay, go to art school, learn art, come out, get show in galleries, have shows, do commissions, and then just carry on doing that. And what I found was that it didn't work out that way at all. I was operating under a lot of assumptions, but that's kind of where it started for me. I started, well, I was raised in a home where art was just everywhere. My father was an artist. My mother, while she was still in the picture, she left when I was 2 years old. So, but she was an artist, she was a painter. So I had this awareness that she was also very talented. But my father essentially raised me, and he was sculpting, always producing art, and creativity was just a thing. And it wasn't that it was. I was given the freedom to be able to do whatever I chose, just as long as I put everything into it. But a lot of assumptions started to come in with me because I was also influenced by the school model because I was going to school, and the typical high school thing. And there was a little bit of a period of time there where I thought I was going to go into architecture because I started becoming quite fearful that I wouldn't be able to make it work as an artist. And this was all happening very early on. But then eventually, long story short, the decision was made. I thought, no, I'm going to go to art school and I'm going to go and get a degree in fine art, and I'm going to be qualified artist. And then I spent about 2 years spinning my tires and not really having much of an idea about how this was going to work professionally. And then something just clicked and it just started. And I was really fortunate early on. I found a wonderful couple running a little gallery in Applecross in Perth in Western Australia. And then from there, it just started to build. They saw what I was able to do. They realized that I needed nurturing, direction, and a bit of structure because I didn't really have that going for me in my early 20s. And they kind of helped facilitate that development. And then I just started doing shows. I started doing commissions. I got the attention of some other galleries, and they started exhibiting my work. And then the prices started getting higher. And then I'd say as of about 10 years ago, I started going pretty much independent, where I was like, okay, I think I got this. And I started to kind of go out on my own and make it work as my own self-represented business as an artist. And then I proceeded to go through failure after failure and disaster after disaster. And, it's interesting. It's sometimes it's feast or famine, yeah, sometimes you're really doing amazing and you're on top of the whole thing. And then other times in the art world, uh, something happens and the wheels fall off. And I've experienced it all. And it's made me, who I am today. And I'm grateful for all those experiences. I know it sounds like a bit of a cliche, no regrets, but I really am very grateful for all those experiences and what they've taught me. Because I think at the end of the day, I really appreciate where I am now. I'm like super grateful where I am now. And I also recognize that it wasn't me necessarily that did this. I wasn't flying solo this whole time. I've got a lot of people to thank. But that's essentially kind of where it all started for me. And really, I'd have to say, if I was to pinpoint where it started, I mean, to give you just a one-word answer, birth, that's where it started, because it was always in the home and art was always something that was encouraged. And with the exception of that brief moment of time where I was fearful and thought that I would have to go and get a real job, and was thinking that my high school courses that I was choosing would lead to architecture school. Apart from that brief little period, I always wanted to do this, and I couldn't see another direction for me. So, and it was, if people want to know, it was the 11th grade. So what is that? 16 years old. That's when I made the decision. I am going to do this, and there's no other direction I will go. And it sounds a little extreme, but there was a period of time, I've lightened up on this now, but there was a period of time where I would tell myself, art or death. That's the way it's going to be. It's art or death. I'm going to perish. I either make this work or I'm just not even worth it. And I'm not, I not to sound morbid about it, but that sort of built into me a certain kind of urgency that I just had to find a way to make it work. So fortunately I did. And yeah, the rest is history.
Oh, you've done absolutely amazing. So your YouTube channel is just like blown up. I mean, you have got almost 500,000 subscribers. That's just not the people
Yeah.
that come and watch it. Those are the people that say,
Mm.
oh my gosh, love what he's doing. I'm going to hit the subscribe button.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
a really big deal. How'd you grow that?
Well, again, I started from zero, but it has to be, everybody starts with no subscribers, but I also have to recognize that there are some giants on that platform that are just doing amazingly well that I look up to. And I'm just like, wow, how did they do that? To give you a couple of examples, like Draw with Jazza, he's an Australian guy. He does digital art. He does weird little art challenges. He does a lot of kids stuff. But I remember watching that guy when he was maybe 50 to 100,000 subs. Now he's got millions upon millions of subscribers. Another one is, I remember watching Stan Prokopenko's first videos on drawing the human head from any angle using the Andrew Loomis method. And now I think he's got at least 2 million subscribers. Like, he's doing incredibly well. So there are giants on that platform that really do show the rest of us, how it's done. And I always felt that success leaves clues. It doesn't matter what we're doing in life. If there's something that we want to achieve and something that we want to do, who are the people that are out there doing what we want to do? And then just start doing what they're doing. And I started to pick up on cues on, like, well, I like that. I don't like that thing that they've done, but I do like this. So I'm going to employ what I like and what I think works. And you start to pick and borrow and choose from these other people. Of course, maintaining your authenticity, doing what you feel is important for you and your direction and your vision, but success leaves clues. So do what those people do. And so I really I started from zero, where everybody starts on YouTube. And we just started making those adjustments. And so along with this, I knew at the time that I wanted to set up some sort of online business, because I wanted to build into my art career some sort of cushioning and buffer from all the volatility. I was sick of going broke. I was sick of kind of having everything that was happening on a whole scale, economic level, the things that were outside of my control that would come along and just completely wipe me out, and everybody else for that matter. Things like the global financial crisis or crash of '08. I've said this in other podcasts that I've done. We were insulated in Western Australia, where I was at the time, from that crash. It didn't hit until a few years later. In 2012 is when I experienced that personally, but all of my clients experienced that. So I wanted to know of a way, how do I not ever go through that again? And so that's when my attraction to the online models, the online product, marketing, YouTube channels, all that sort of stuff. That's where it really started. And I started to become really hungry for information and knowledge and growth in that area. And so when I say we started from scratch, I'll give you an example. The first video that I ever put out was a video, which was a portrait demonstration of this gentleman here who's sitting over my left shoulder there. That's Russell Petherbridge from Yandoit in Victoria. He's a sculptor, and I wanted to paint his portrait and wanted to make a YouTube video about it. So from memory, we put that YouTube video out there just to give you an example of how it was working for us in the early days. And I think maybe we got a couple of hundred views overnight. And I was like, I did a YouTube video. Why isn't it viral yet? I mean, that painting's awesome. You know how long that took to make that video? How come I'm not getting more views? And my wife is looking at it going, something's not right here. I don't think anybody's going to search for a portrait of Russell Petherbridge. No one's going to search on YouTube for that title. So how is anybody going to find your video? Surely there's going to be an algorithm thing. That's all she needed to say, and all she needed, and she just jumped on, she just started running with that idea. And she thought, no, what's trending on YouTube right now? And what's something that people are searching for? And it's how to paint a portrait, the exact same way that I searched way back when of how to make a YouTube video, how to paint a portrait in oils, boom. And so we titled it that. And then the subtitle was A Portrait of Russell Petherbridge. But the first part was this. And I think the title's changed since, but now I think he's near, if he's not nearly 1 million views, he's over 1 million views now. But we do have a couple of videos that have got a million plus views. And it went from that, so a couple of hundred views to 5,000 then the next day. And then it just started growing, and we're like, oh, wow, how good could this get? And then we just started learning the online business thing. And it's its own kind of beast. You got to learn, how to make that work. And we just start learning strategy, and we're always learning. The learning never stops. I'm even learning right now. I'm still learning today, and I'm continuing to develop my online presence. People listening to this right now would be like, that are familiar with my YouTube channel, would be like, yeah, you haven't released a video in like months now, Andrew. What's going on? I've taken a bit of a breath and a step back for the last couple of months while I'm producing a painting course. And because we have such a limited team here, a lot of stuff does fall on my shoulders to produce the copy, the video, do the narration, do all the painting, of course, all the filming type of stuff. And so that stuff takes time. So YouTube is actually continuing to churn over. So videos that we made like half a year ago, they're still getting out there. I mean, we've been watching this video of Tuhoy, for instance, and a portrait of my wife go from 100,000 views to 200,000 to 400,000 to nearly 500,000 views. And I'm not doing anything. It's just sitting there on the platform, and YouTube is pushing it out there continually. So it's really wonderful, the opportunities that we have now as artists that we didn't have, back in the day. So it's pretty cool.
But that's something that's unique to you, because there are so many artists that have an absolute aversion to technology.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on there. I know I have the aversion myself. I had that. I still have it today. But for me, and I'll just speak personally, I don't want to assume what's going on with other people, but for me, it was fear. There was a lot of fear involved, and fear of the unknown. And initially as well, there was also fear of putting myself out there in public. And I still feel that now and again. Now I make a bit of a joke of it. I have fun with it, and I've got a very kooky, weird sense of humor. People that are following me on Patreon will know this, but it's like the hat that I'm wearing at the moment is a stupid hat. But why am I wearing this? It says Landscape Champ, and it's my own hat, it's my own merch line, but there's a reason that I put Landscape Champ on my hat, and it has to do with like, um, and I'm going somewhere with this. So I'm gonna address that question. I'm tangent man, by the way. So anytime anybody asks me any question, I just start going blah 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 blah. It's a real problem. I'm getting help. I am getting help, but it's a real problem. but
I love it.
but the issue is that like I was thinking like I've never won an award, and it was something that I felt self-conscious about. I haven't won an award. I had an award given to me, which was not something that I ever entered. It was called the Alina Brady Art Award from Applecross Senior High School. And the other students that were in the art program gave that to the student that they felt was most dedicated to art and creativity. And I think they give this out every year, but this one year when I was a senior in high school, the other students, and I had no friends, and I was convinced that nobody liked me. I wasn't a popular kid. I was a real loner. I sat in the art room or the library. If I'd get kicked out, I would just draw during, recess, lunchtime. And I couldn't relate to anybody. I still have a bit of an issue with that. I do love people, but at that time in high school, it's just an awkward kid. I just couldn't relate to anybody. But they said that kid, that nerdy kid over there who doesn't talk to anybody, he's a little bit weird, but he does nothing but draw. And if you looked at my high school folio, it was like the phone book. Like people would show up with this little thin folio. And I was like, I drew a flower. I'd be like, I've done 10 studies of all these different flowers from these different angles. And I was just filling that sucker up, just drawing after drawing. So they like, that kid gets the award. Anyway, the only award I've ever won, I've entered plenty, and I kept getting rejected from every competition I was entered, not even making the cut to get shown. And I thought, no, I'm the landscape champ. In fact, I'm going to have it on my hat, and you can be the landscape champ too if you just get one of these hats. But I've got another one, like, because people started making a joke on my Patreon page, and it started off as just a joke that somebody made as a comment. And then I just picked it up and ran with it because I critique other people's paintings on my Patreon page, and the joke had become, oh no, I just got tished. And then you could get your painting tished too. And then eventually, with the use of the brushes and all that stuff, the joke was, hey, do you even tish, bro? Do you even tish? And then I put that on a hat, and it says, do you even tish, bro? And it comes from that internet meme where that guy was out the front of a gym going, hey, do you even lift, to all these muscle bound freaks? Do you even lift, bro? So I just ripped that off. Yeah. Do you even tish? But
Love it.
Kathryn, I forgot the question, but that's the danger of these tangents. But I think you were asking me, like, the aversion to the technology side of things. Yeah, it started off as a fear. I had to turn my fear and my apprehension in recent years into a joke. Otherwise, I would never show up on camera. And it's weird, I've got to mention this, like early on, like you have people commenting on your appearance. You show up on YouTube or you make a post on whatever, and people just feel like they've got free reign to tell you about what you chose to wear that day, or the way your face looks, or, oh, you're losing a lot of weight, what's going on? And most people are cool. 99% of the people are cool. But when you go out there in public, you open yourself up to all that stuff as well. And, yeah, it does get to me. It still gets to me. I'm still a sensitive guy, but the thing is that you miss out on all the positive that could come from that experience of putting yourself out there. And I'd say the biggest positive is what it gives others. It's not even about me at the end of the day. And that's the thing that I realized. It's like, no, I've got to show up because there's a kid in Colorado who paints because he watched one of my YouTube videos, and he's like, I want to be an artist too. And inadvertently, and I'm not saying this is just me, I'm saying there are other people in all sorts of walks of life that do this. Like, we wouldn't know to do that unless I wouldn't be doing this if there hadn't been giants on YouTube doing this. Oh man, I want to do that too. Like I owe a huge debt of gratitude to people that have been there first doing that. So that was a huge thing. I think just on a side note, though, there is a reality to the way online platforms operate and work, and what they do to, the human spirit and freedom of expression, that I have a huge problem with. But I just go, okay, you know what? I'm just going to stay in my lane. I'm not going to worry about these other things. But a lot of the material and stuff that I look at, consume, learn about, all these things, these people are getting censored left, right, and center. So there is a component to these online platforms where, if you fall slightly outside of that window, you don't get a look in. So it is what it is. A lot of these online platforms do have their bad side as well. And I do think also they're incredibly addictive, not only for the consumer, but also the producer, the person producing the content. So you have to maintain a balance here and maintain, control and set limitations on what you're willing to accept. Personally, I've had to do that as a YouTuber now and as an online content creator. I'm on Instagram, but I'm not on Instagram. I'm not spending time scrolling my phone, because you start hitting that little magnifying glass search function. Oh, and there goes your day again. It's so you've really got to keep this in balance.
Well, so that's something that you were talking about was the couple that took you in and started teaching you about how to maintain your focus, how to gain focus, maintain it, and utilize it for your advantage. What did they do for you? What did that look like?
I think initially it wasn't so much that they were teaching me about focus. And the couple's name, the Colin and Gabriel Dixon. They ran a gallery called it's when it started off, it was called Gallery 360. In Applecross, and then they went independent from the Gallery 360 franchise, and they ended up becoming Applecross Framing and Fine Art. And amazing people. But what they did initially, it was just this feeling of belonging that I had, and just the nurturing and the encouragement. And I think at the time I really needed to hear that. I needed to hear that people liked what I did, and they're like, Andrew, that painting's beautiful. This is really working. Can you do like 3 or 4 more of these kind of thing? And I'd be like, oh yeah, sure. It's just, and I do it. I do know though, if you would ask Colin now, like, I think sometimes he would admit that getting paintings out of me was like pulling teeth sometimes, that it was difficult to get me as productive as they would have liked. They could have sold 10 times more than what I gave them. And for whatever reason, sometimes I just wasn't as dedicated. But I think because you're distracted as a 20-something-year-old, you're really distracted. And I was really distracted by success. I'd get a little bit of success, I'd make some sales, I would have more money in my pocket at the time before I blew it all, like, then I knew what to do with. And I then wouldn't go back to painting because I'm like, I just made what am I going to do? Let's go have some fun, kind of thing. And it was, you do lose that. And that just comes with maturity. But I think the thing that they really gave me the space, it was giving me the space to be able to just create and be me and create things that were really inspiring for me, but also just that little nudge in terms of what would be commercially viable and sellable from a business standpoint as well. And I really started to see the business side of things from working very closely with Colin. And there were even several trips that we took where we would both go and talk to clients together and pitch clients on commissions that we could do for either a business, a company, or a private group, or even a private collector. And that happened a bunch, where I got to see firsthand from this guy who was just a straight up business guy, business genius, like how he was able to personalize business relationships and get a sale and get people to be without manipulation. It was all genuine, a really kind man. And he believed in the product. And it was really interesting. I remember there was a client that asked him, They said, Andrew, Colin, you go on and on and on about this Andrew Tischler guy. He relayed this conversation to me. I wasn't in the room. You go on and on about this Andrew Tischler guy, like he's so collectible and he's like the next thing in Perth. Do you collect any of his work? Thinking that was kind of a gotcha moment. He's like, as a matter of fact, I do. We've got half a dozen hanging on our walls at home, and we keep buying Andrew's work as well. And he would, exhibitions would come along, and he'd be like, Andrew, just want to let you know that got the first red spot. I'm like, oh, cool. Where's the buyer? I want to meet him, kind of thing. You'd reach out, shake his hand, and say, nice to meet you, kind of thing. We bought it. That's so cool, so they're really just genuine, kind people. And I think that was the main thing, though, from memory, looking back, was just providing that encouragement and that space for me to be able to do it. If I was able to put the head that I have now on those younger shoulders and kind of take the experiences that I have now back to that moment in time, I think I would have been 10 times as productive and not as distracted. I think focus is the biggest thing that I've learned now, and how to really focus my time and my effort and energy and just stay productive. And that was something that took me a little while to learn. And again, it probably did come with maturity, but I'm still growing up. I'm not there yet.